Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence. Welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate your time and your viewership. It means a lot. So in today's episode, I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on a fragrance by the company Dossier. This is their inspiration of Dolce Gabbana, the One for Men Eau De Parfum. This fragrance is called Woody Coriander. I'm excited to be speaking to you about this fragrance today, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin my fragrance review of Woody Coriander by Dossier, and I tell you all about this fragrance, what it smells like, how it performs on my skin, and also how close it is to Dolce Gabbana, the One Eau De Parfum, I do want to mention that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, if you like fragrance reviews just like this, but also top 10 videos, giveaways, unboxings, special guests, and more, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it, and also if you can, give this video a thumbs up. It would help tremendously with the YouTube algorithm. And so I've actually done a video on a few other Dossier fragrances in the past. I know they have their own version of Dior Sauvage, Versace Eros, Creed Aventus, Santal 33 if I'm not mistaken, Rose 31, a few Jo Malone fragrances, the list goes on. And it seems like every month they're adding more to the catalog, which is great because then consumers have a wide variety of selections to pick from. So Woody Coriander is their take on Dolce Gabbana, the One Eau De Parfum. And the Eau de Toilette, at least, is very sentimental for me because that's the fragrance that I was wearing when I proposed to my girlfriend, who ended up becoming my fiance, and now she's been my wife for quite a few years. We got married in November of 2015. And so whenever I smell the Eau de Toilette or even the Eau de Parfum, because they're not that much different, it always conjures up some really positive memories. And so I was certainly using that as one of the catalysts to determine, is this one similar to the original, or at the very least the Eau de Parfum, which I think is the consumer's preference, because Dolce Gabbana probably heard the complaints of many people who were saying that the Eau de Toilette just was not giving them good performance at all. And so the Eau de Parfum seemed to fix that problem somewhat by adding maybe like 1 or 2 hours of longevity. So it's kind of good that they're going after the Eau de Parfum in terms of recreating a formula, because that's the one that's giving people slightly better performance. I should also mention that this is concentrated at 12%, and they do have a system where they will send you a sample with your 50 ml bottle. If you're not satisfied with your purchase, you can always request a refund, no questions asked. So you basically wear the sample. If you like it, cool, you get to keep the 50 ml. If you're not that crazy about it, you can return it, no questions asked. So I think that that's pretty cool. And so I'm excited to give you my thoughts on this fragrance, tell you all about it. Let's start things off with the presentation. So right in the opening of this fragrance, you are going to get something warm, sweet, ambery, slightly resinous, but then you're also going to get these tobacco nuances. And I don't know why, but whenever I think of Dolce Gabbana, the One, whether we're talking about the Eau de Toilette or the Eau de Parfum, I always think about like this dried fruit accord. And sometimes I think about plum or raisin. For some reason, my mind goes there. Now, in terms of the note breakdown, there's apple, and I don't necessarily think of apple, but I do think of tobacco, which is one of the stronger characteristics of the olfactory profile of Dolce Gabbana, the One. And so inside every box, they actually include a card that has the note breakdown of the fragrances, the concentration, what the inspiration is, so on and so forth. I do feel like that information is very helpful for consumers. So in terms of the note breakdown, here in the top, you have coriander, which of course also lends its name to the name of the fragrance. You have green apple and grapefruit. In the mid, you have cardamom, orange blossom, and basil. In the base, you have amberwoods, tobacco, and cedarwood. So what I get the most from this fragrance right in the opening is a little bit of that ambery vibe that's going on in here. I'm sure an ingredient in this fragrance is also coumarin, which is found in tonka bean, because it also kind of has like this sweet, nutty, and vanillic profile in the base, which you're also going to smell from the very opening of this fragrance, because it does lend the fragrance a little bit of a sweetness that can be perceived from the very first spray. But you're also going to get some spicy elements in here that are not spicy in the vein of like a saffron or a clove or something like that. I feel like those can be quite harsh and perhaps even abrasive if you want to use that adjective, but there's a smooth spice happening in here. And that's precisely what I think the coriander is doing to this fragrance. Very quickly though, you're gonna get that tobacco vibe, and it's a very smooth, sophisticated, moist type of a tobacco note, as opposed to like a dry, earthy, leafy tobacco, which is kind of in the vein of like a Creed Tabarome or something like that. So this one is a little bit on the sweeter side, and that's personally the variety that I enjoy. If you think about fragrances like Tobacco Vanille by Tom Ford, that also has this cherry-like feel in the opening with that vanilla dry down. I think it's a really well done composition. Happens to be one of my favorite fragrances of all time. And so this is an ambery tobacco with some fruity nuances, and it's very gently spiced. Now, in terms of the similarity that it bears to Dolce Gabbana The One, whether we're referring to the Eau de Toilette, which I personally happen to have a lot of experience with, or the Eau De Parfum, which is the one that they were targeting with this particular inspiration, I think it's quite close. And the reason why is because it actually does remind me a lot of the original because of the memories that it evokes. And so whenever I smell the original, I think about, you know, the dress shirt that I was wearing when I proposed to my girlfriend. I am also thinking about the restaurant that we went to eat at afterwards, where all of her family was there, and, you know, we were celebrating this joyous occasion. And so it does conjure up some really positive memories. And so I was using that as a gauge or a caliber to determine the closeness or the similarity of this fragrance, and it certainly did jog those same memories. And so it is very poignant and nostalgic for me, at least, and I do think that they came quite close with this one. Of course, because of the use of a lot of captive ingredients, perhaps they're not going to get 100% similar or 99% similar, but when you're smelling it in the air, it's going to be virtually indistinguishable. And so at the end of the day, it all boils down to, as a consumer, how much money are you willing to spend for a designer fragrance? If you have the money to chalk up for a Dolce Gabbana or a Creed or any other, a Jo Malone or something like that, then that's great. But if you want an alternative that comes quite close to the original, where you can have that sort of return policy available to you, and that comes quite close in terms of replicating the aroma, I think that woody coriander is a very safe pick when it comes to an alternative for Dolce Gabbana The One Eau de Parfum. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, well, of course, this isn't very unique because it is an inspiration of a more popular designer fragrance, and a very successful one at that. But the overall smell is very pleasant. Certainly, there are some designer fragrances on the market that have a bit more of a challenging DNA. I'm thinking of fragrances like Gucci Guilty Absolute. This is nothing like that. So this is a very safe, easy to wear, easy to pull off fragrance that I'm personally enjoying, and I think it's the type of DNA that people around you will compliment you on. In terms of the longevity, you can expect about 6 to 7 hours on your skin. Projection was great for the first hour to hour and a half of application. I don't think it ever radiated beyond an arm's length, but it will get you a nice little bubble while you are wearing it. In terms of the versatility, I do think it's a little bit masculine leaning. If you're a confident woman and you like the smell of this one, by all means, please wear it. Don't let people tell you what you should or should not enjoy and what you should or should not wear. I do think this one can be worn casually or formally. Casually because of the price tag, formally because of the overall vibe that it conveys. And I do think that this is more of a colder weather fragrance. However, because it's not super strong, you can pull it off on a cool summer evening, especially if the temperature drops somewhere below 60 degrees or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. I think you can pull this off perfectly. You can even be a little bit liberal on the sprayer as well. In terms of the presentation, very minimalist design. My final verdict on this fragrance is, if you are looking for a close replica of Dolce Gabbana The One Eau de Parfum, you don't want to spend the money for the original. You're looking for something that is quite similar with a very sort of no hassle, easy policy in terms of whether you like it, you keep it. If you don't like it, you return it. I think Dossier is doing something really cool. And so my final verdict is, I'm enjoying this fragrance. I will smell it occasionally for the nostalgic factor that it sort of conjures up. I actually have my fragrance collection spread between 2 filming locations. So sometimes I don't have all of my fragrances in one spot, which makes it difficult in terms of putting together lists. But if I ever feel like I don't have the original Dolce Gabbana The One just to smell and reminisce, I'll smell the cap or the atomizer off of this one, or I'll wear this one, and it'll sort of help me relive those memories and bring back those positive memories. And so thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you took something of value from this video. If you did, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. And also, if you can give this video a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, it will go such a long way. Thank you all so much for watching and supporting. Love you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.